The morning had barely broken over the city when Alexander Hell Hayward, the youngest CEO in Hale Corp history and a man whose schedule was carved down to the second, stepped out of his black car with the usual force of a storm contained in an expensive suit, his mind already running through the stack of negotiations, investor calls and board decisions waiting for him, until something unusual tugged at his senses, small footsteps, hesitant and soft, followed by a fragile voice so out of place in the hardened world of marble, floors and security glass that it made him stop mid-stride. Sir, my mom didn't wake up, the little girl said. No older than 7, wearing a faded pink dress and holding a stuffed rabbit with one ear torn, her eyes wide, terrified. And shimmering with tears she was fighting desperately not to let fall. Alexander, who could face down billion-dollar crises without blinking, felt every breath leave his lungs as if the city air had turned razor sharp, because there was something painfully familiar about her trembling, as though the past he had buried under spreadsheets and skyscrapers had just clawed its way back to life. And when she whispered, "Please, you help people, right?" he dropped to one knee, his voice suddenly rough as gravel as he asked where her mother was. The girl pointed toward the alley beside the building, her hand shaking so violently that the stuffed rabbit nearly slipped from her grasp, and Alexander felt a cold dread surge up his spine, the kind he had only felt once before in his life, the night he found his own mother collapsed, unresponsive, and every second had felt like an eternity he could never escape. He rose quickly and took the girl's hand in his own, his suit, meetings, and the empire he ran vanishing from his priorities as he whispered, "Show me now," his words tight, urgent, and already carrying a fear he refused to name. The girl led him quickly, her little feet pattering on the cold concrete, her breath hitching as if each step hurt. And when they turned the corner and Alexander saw the motionless figure slumped against the wall, hair covering her face, clothes wrinkled as though she hadn't slept properly in days. Something inside him fractured in a way he hadn't let himself feel in years. Because this wasn't just a stranger in distress. This was the mother of a child who had come to him, of all people, and begged for help. He knelt beside the woman, touching her shoulder gently, afraid of what he might find, and when she didn't respond, the panic in the little girl's. The voice broke into him, sob that sliced through him sharper than any business loss he'd ever endured. "Please make her wake up. Please," she begged, clutching his sleeve as if he were her last lifeline. And without hesitation, Alexander pulled out his phone, calling emergency services with a tone so commanding and urgent that even the operator fell into professional silence. But while he spoke, his eyes never left the woman's pale face, nor the smudges beneath her eyes that spoke of exhaustion, not indulgence. This was someone who had been fighting far longer than anyone had noticed, someone who had run out of strength with no one to catch her. When the ambulance sirens echoed faintly in the distance, the girl pressed her forehead into Alexander's side, sobbing harder now that help was coming, and he wrapped an arm around her, protecting her from the cold and the fear, realizing in a sudden, startling moment that he wasn't going to walk away from this, not from her, not from her mother, not from the way destiny had just collided with his perfectly controlled world and cracked it open and happy. Christmas Day, like and share. Subscribe our YouTube channel.